Hello guys, welcome back to another episode of the Whiskey Diaries. I'm your host Martin Lang and we're here at Death and Taxes. Today we're going to go and talk about whiskies for the uninitiated, or for the beginners for that matter. If you never had any whiskey, or you only had a couple of whiskeys and you have never been convinced, or you don't know if you're going to like it, or like you think that it's just going to be too strong, or you just don't know at all and you want to, this is basically your video. We recommend these whiskies at any person that they come to our bar, either looking to try something new, or then trying new whiskeys, or trying a new Japanese whiskey, or getting initiated in smoky whiskeys, and so on and so on. These are all reasonably priced. A couple of them might be a little bit on the expensive range, but this is examples and flavor profiles that we are looking for beginners, or that we actually recommend for beginners. And these flavors are not too full on, not too strong on your mouth, also quite low ABV, or just standard ABV, which is 42%, and whiskeys that go really well with ice as well, or really go with really well with a little water, and that is slightly sweet and very friendly on the palate. This is usually just something basically that we do for beginners, because you just don't know what you're going to get on a whiskey. So we wanted to ease you in this style. So the first one that we usually recommend is the Glenmorangie Nectar Dior. Glenmorangie is a quite mainstream brand. It's been there for a couple of hundred years, and they produce a very light style of whiskey. They have very, very long swan necks, very tall, and they produce a very light spirit. Now, the reason why I picked Nectar Dior and not maybe the 10-year-old or the 12-year-old is because Nectar Dior gets aged in something that is called Sauterne casks. Sauternes is one of the most expensive wines in the world. Actually, they won in the Guinness records the most expensive one in the world at £78,000 sold. The reason why Sauternes is so expensive is because it's made of a couple of grapes, Semillon and Sauvignon Blanc, that actually get affected by a type of malt that is called the noble rot. What the noble rot does to this wine, to these grapes, is actually makes them almost like a little bit raisin, so it concentrates the sugar. So it produces a very high sugar, very sweet wine, but the process is really complicated and very, very hard to replicate. So this wine as well, because of the amount of sugar, the one that got sold was from 1800s in the Napoleonic era. Now it's sold for that amount of money. So what Glenmorangie does is gets the cask in which that wine gets aged, and then they age the whiskey in that one, producing a really lovely, quite sweet whiskey. That at the same time is light. It's kind of like contradictory with each other, but it's actually really, really nice. Also, this one is very particular because it's 46% alcohol, but it doesn't taste like a whiskey that is 46% alcohol. And also, it's non-chill filtered. So that means, as I said in previous videos, non-chill filtered means that they just don't filter it through cold just to remove any impurities. It's basically the whiskey as it is. This is aged for 12 years. It's quite soft on the mouth, really easy, quite sweet, goes really well with ice as well, and it's just a really, really good introductory whiskey for Speyside region. The second one that we going to recommend, and this is something as well that if anybody wants to move up in the whiskey, or they've only been having Glenfiddich or Glenlivet or just a standard, this is a great whiskey. We did a full video on Balvenie distillery, so we're not going to go too much into the actual distillery. We're just going to go into the flavor profile and why we picked these for beginners. First of all, 40%, 12-year-old, and 6 to 8 years in American oak, and then they put it on sherry cask. This is a really good introductory to people that want to get into sherry, because sherry can be quite upfront. So Glenmorangie or Bowmore or DoubleWood, they're all 100% in sherry cask, and those whiskies can be quite tannic and quite full on. This one, because it's half and half basically, what it does is just makes the whiskey slightly tannic, but not, you still get the sweetness from the American oak. And then, 12 years, super easy drinking, and we recommend it to anybody that either wants to try whiskey for the first time or wants to try something a little bit more complex than just the standard ones. And you can find this whiskey anywhere in Dun Murphy's, First Choice, whatever you got. That's the second one. Now, the third one that we're going to try is just an introductory to Japanese whiskey. Now, the problem with Japanese whiskey at the moment is that it has been so popular because they have been winning so many awards in the last decade, in the last 10 years, that right now Japanese whiskey is super expensive to get because they're running out all the time. So they keep changing. They don't make any more age statements for that anymore. And if they do, like Yamazaki 12 goes for like $200, $250 a bottle for a 12-year-old. And to give you an idea, this 12-year-old Balvenie goes for $80, and it's basically the same age. The reason being is, obviously, it's just Japanese whiskey is so scarce at the moment. This one that we're going to try, that we're going to talk about, is the pure malt from Nikka distillery. We have done a video as well, so you can have a look and what Nikka tastes like and what they do. But this one is called the Taketsuru, and it's basically a blend from Nikka Miyaiku and Nikka Yoichi, and also some grain spirit that goes into the mix. So it's basically similar to Johnny Walker in regards that it's a blend. So yeah. They produce a really good introductory whiskey, and it's a great way to get into basically Japanese whiskey. It's the best of both worlds in this regard, because you get a little bit of the smoky from the Yoichi distillery and a little bit more the fresh and herbal notes of the Miyaiku, which creates a really good whiskey to start with. Also, the price is not that expensive. The last one that we're going to try is an introductory whiskey to Islay. To smoky whiskies. This is the perfect whiskey to introduce yourself to something that is smoky. It is very soft in peat. It's only 25 ppm, but the way the whiskey is produced actually creates a whiskey that is really easy drinking, and you're not going to get that like super smoke and super strong like Lagavulin or Ardbeg or Lafroy. It's 40% alcohol, 12-year-old, everything on American oak, and it's super tasty, soft, easy drinking, and it gives you a certain type of smoke that will get you ready to try something bigger. This is the one that we're going to try because, again, it's a great whiskey. And then when you try this one in particular, you can have it on ice or no, just neat. And then you give it a quick smell, and you can smell the smokiness, but there's a lot of citrus, there's a lot of freshness into this whiskey that makes it really easy to drink. Yeah, as I said, super soft. Sometimes you can, like if you drink enough Islay whiskies and you go back to Bowmore, you can barely taste the smoke, but that's once you get that experience. Anyway, so this is our episode for Beginner's Whiskey. Slán Jabbar, and we'll see you next time.